It looks like the Titans' options at quarterback this year could be Carson Wentz or Will Levis. I'll break it down on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, on today's show, it's a recap of day 3 of NFL free agency. We got some more signings for the Tennessee Titans. Their plan is very clear and obvious, and that plan may include Carson Wentz at quarterback. Before I dive into all of it, do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one because there's breaking news all the time. This time of year, the draft is right around the corner. I'm going to be going over 200 different prospects. There's still more free agency moves to make. I'm breaking it all down and keeping you as informed as possible here on the Locked On Titans podcast. But the quarterback position still untouched. No additions at quarterback as of this moment. We saw Jacoby Brissett go off the board. We saw Marcus Mariota, those who were hoping for a reunion. Marcus Mariota goes off the board and goes back to the Washington Commanders, which, if you're Marcus, why would you come to Tennessee when you could go back to the Commanders, which is a great situation for him and a good football team, you know? So I don't blame Marcus whatsoever. I didn't think that Marcus was ever coming back to Tennessee in the first place. But with that being said, and with the quarterback market, Rodgers is going to go to the Steelers, most likely, and then Russell Wilson is either going to go to the Browns or go to the Giants. Like, the Titans aren't in on any of those names. But a name that the Titans are reportedly in on is Carson Wentz. Wait, what? Carson Wentz? This comes on top of the only other rumored interest that the Titans have that can be taken seriously is Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. And even Zach Wilson went to Miami to hang out with Nick Westbrook-Akine. So what are the options here? Jameis Winston is still available. Gardner Minshew is available. Carson Wentz is available. And then you have Will Levis still on the team. And I guess what most people are screaming at their screen right now is, or yelling at their podcast is, Cam Ward. Cam Ward. And look, at this point, and I said it recently, it was yesterday's show. You're either taking Cam Ward or you are tanking the season. Like, that's where the Titans are at. Because if you want to go with Carson Wentz or Will Levis, or even if it's Mac Jones or Gardner Minshew or Jameis Winston, like, none of those quarterbacks are going to lead you anywhere close to a winning season. There is no magical turnaround that is happening this year if that's who one of your starting quarterbacks are. If the Titans do decide to pass on Cam Ward and trade down in the draft, then there is no doubt about it that they are tanking this season on purpose. And we're going to talk about that later in the show when we talk about how the Titans' total vision is very clear. But if the Titans were met with the decision of starting Will Levis or Carson Wentz, Mac Jones, Jameis Winston, Gardner Minshew, they have to start Will Levis. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we really talking about? Think about the upside. How many games are you winning with Gardner Minshew or Mac Jones or Jameis Winston? I don't think you're winning any additional games with those three over Will Levis. And if so, what is the difference? One game? You can't sit up here and tell me that Jameis Winston is a 3-game difference to Will Levis, or Mac Jones is a 3-game difference than Will Levis, or that Gardner Minshew is a 3-game difference from Will Levis. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. Mac Jones played for the Jags all year. Gardner Minshew played for the Raiders all year. Jameis Winston played for the Browns. How good were all those teams? Those guys aren't difference makers. Those guys aren't going to make the team any better. At that point, you have to go with Will Levis for another year. The reason that I have never thought that Will Levis starting next year was realistic is because Brian Callahan would immediately be fired. Like, Brian Callahan has no chance at saving his job if Will Levis is his starting quarterback next year. But if you look at what the Titans have done so far, they don't care about Brian Callahan's job security. They are setting Brian Callahan up to be fired. I think that Amy just didn't want to fire Brian because she didn't want to pay him and Vrabel at the same time. She doesn't want to, fire another coach and do another coaching search on top of a GM search. We fired too many people. We fired Vrabel and then we fired Rand. We can't, fire another coach too after 1 year. We can't be the franchise that fires a head coach after 1 year. But I think it's pretty clear that Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi don't care if Brian Callahan gets a fair opportunity to save his job. Like, if you give him Carson Wentz or Will Levis and Mac Jones or Will Levis and Jameis Winston or, you're not giving him a fair chance to win. But if those are my options, if that's what I'm choosing between, is those veteran pick-up off the street quarterbacks and Will Levis has endless more upside than any of those guys. None of those guys are a long-term option for you anyway, so start Will Levis. Like, I know that Levis was terrible last year. I know the odds of Will Levis ever being good are very, very low. But again, what is the upside with Minshew or Winston or Mac Jones compared to the benefit of starting those guys? Like, I'm sorry, but the math ain't mathing on that. It doesn't make any sense. There isn't enough upside in one of those veterans to eliminate the upside of Will Levis. And if you're going with Gardner Minshew or Jameis Winston or Mac Jones at quarterback, you are already acknowledging that you're not a playoff team this year. So you're not trying to maximize wins anyway. So if you're not trying to maximize wins, you might as well go with the higher upside player, which is Will Levis. This would be the first time in 4 seasons that Will Levis got to have the same offense and the same play caller. I don't think that Will Levis is the answer. I don't think that Will Levis is going to be good all of a sudden. I don't think that Will Levis should be the starting quarterback for the Titans. I can already hear the comments, you love Will Levis, you're a Will Levis. No, I'm not. I don't want Will Levis to be the starter for the Titans. I would rather have Cam Ward by far 100 times. But what the Titans are doing is sending you a message. And if you don't want to listen to that and you want to ignore it, then that's on you. So if I have the choice between 2 bad options, between old Will Levis and new young Will Levis, I'm going to go with new young Will Levis over old Will Levis, which is just Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is old Will Levis, and Will Levis is young Will Levis. So I'm going with Will Levis. No question about it. No doubt about it. No ifs, ands, or buts. I'm not starting Mac Jones, Jameis Winston, or Gardner Minshew or Carson Wentz over Will Levis. I'm just simply not. It doesn't make any sense. But with that being said, if the Titans do want to take this season seriously and go out and get some real help at wide receiver, Cooper Kupp is now available. Plus, the Titans signed a wide receiver and an offensive lineman. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment apps, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery, and now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, everything is all in one with the Monarch Money app. Finances, tracking your spending, even long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's Monarch Money, FanDuel.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We talked about the quarterback situation and where the Titans are at right now. We're hearing they're reportedly interested in Carson Wentz. How real that is, I don't know. But if the Titans truly do not draft a quarterback and they go with Will Levis or competition, they have to start Will Levis. But to make the offense better, no matter who is playing quarterback, the Titans could probably use some wide receivers. They signed one on Wednesday, but they could probably use another wide receiver. And somebody who would make a ton of sense is Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp was officially released by the Los Angeles Rams. Look, I get it. You know, Cooper Kupp has really slowed down in his last few years. He's only played 79% of his possible games since 2021, where he went crazy. That doesn't really fit with what the Titans are doing this offseason. If you look at all of the players that the Titans have signed this offseason, they're all very, very durable players for the most part. They're all guys who, for the most of their career, have played all of the games. So with that in mind, I don't think Cooper Kupp necessarily fits. He's going to be 32 years old coming up this season. He's probably going to get, I would imagine, between $12 to $18 million a season. I know that's a big gap, but it kind of depends on what he wants to do. If Cooper Kupp wants to win and he's going to prioritize winning, well, then he's not going to be an option for the Titans no matter what the money is. He'll probably take less money to go somewhere and win versus he could probably get $15 to $18 million for 2 seasons from the Titans because the Titans are in a desperate spot at wide receiver. So Cooper Kupp, again, is my best older option. But I would love Amari Cooper, too. Amari Cooper makes a ton of sense for the Tennessee Titans as an older, veteran wide receiver that can come in and just give them production, man. Because right now, you got Calvin Ridley and Treylon Burks and Jaquan Jackson and Bryce Oliver. And that is a despicable quartet right there, no matter who is going to play quarterback, whether it's Cam Ward or whether it's Will Levis or whether it's somebody else. So outside of Amari Cooper and Cooper Kupp, you could look at a Keenan Allen. DeAndre Hopkins went to the Baltimore Ravens, $6 million. Not shocked there. Mike Williams could be an option for you as well. That could make some sense. Stephon Diggs coming off the ACL tear. Maybe the Titans take a chance there. But basically, the Titans should look to one of these veteran wide receivers for $10 to $15, $16 million for about 2 years. That's really low money, really value deals right there. You're not making, make half of 1 year guaranteed. Like, you don't need to break the bank to bring in one of these guys. It can be very low end and be like, hey, we'll pay you the most money of anybody on the market to come in for 1 season and just be productive. Like, that's simple. But if the Titans do something like that, I guess I'm not confident it would be Cooper Kupp because of the injury stuff. But anytime, like Stephon Diggs is off an ACL. Amari Cooper has missed time. Keenan Allen has missed a ton of time in recent years. Mike Williams, of course, has been known as an injury guy. So you're already going into one of those signings and one of those situations knowing that you're not going to get a guy with incredible durability. Now, the Titans did go out and sign a receiver on Wednesday, but I got to tell you, it's not much to write home about. They got Van Jefferson, 6'1", 200 pounds. He is a hometown guy. He's from Brentwood, Tennessee. He is 28 years old. He's going to be 29 in July. Another guy played 16 games, 17 games, 11 games, 17 games, 17 games. He's just a guy who plays. He's played 16 or 17 games, 5 out of his 6 seasons. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 out of his 5 seasons. Another guy who's incredibly durable. Now, productive, in his second season in the NFL, that Super Bowl year with the Los Angeles Rams. It's funny we go from Cooper Kupp to talking about one of his teammates on that Super Bowl team with the Rams. Van Jefferson had 50 catches, 802 yards, how many touchdowns that year? a couple of touchdowns that year, I do believe, if I'm not crazy. Yeah. Or no. I'm 6 touchdowns that year. Yeah. So he had a great year. But then he kind of comes back down to earth. 2022, 24 catches, 369, 3 touchdowns. Then 2023 is last year with the Rams. He got traded to Atlanta during that. Played 12 games with Atlanta, 5 with the Rams. He only had 209 yards on 20 catches and 0 touchdowns. Last year, 24 catches, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like, Van Jefferson is replacing Nick Westbrook-Akine as their wide receiver 4. That's the role that Van Jefferson should be playing in the NFL right now, as wide receiver 4. That like Pittsburgh had Van Jefferson as their wide receiver 2 last year, and they made a midseason trade for Mike Williams because Van Jefferson was not good enough to be their wide receiver 2. He's a wide receiver 4. The Titans don't have a wide receiver 2 or a wide receiver 3. They have Calvin Ridley as a wide receiver 1, which some may say Calvin Ridley is slowly turning into a wide receiver 2. So that's an option. But, like, if you don't have a wide receiver 1, you don't have a wide receiver 3, you have wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 4. Again, I don't care who plays quarterback, whether it's Will Levis, Carson Wentz, Cam Ward, Shadur Sanders, or, me. Like, the wide receiver group is going to be awful, and there's nothing they can do about it. Like, there is nothing that they can do about it. I guess if you draft wide receiver, like if they trade back to number 3 and they take Travis Hunter with the understanding that they're going to play him at wide receiver full time, and then you draft another, like you draft Isaiah Bond with one of the extra picks that you get, or Xavier Restrepo, something like that, a slot guy. If the Titans go out and draft, Travis Hunter and Emeka Egbuka, yeah, well, then the wide receiver group is saved, and they're awesome. But are the Titans going to do that? No, they're not. So, look, I'm not mad at the Van Jefferson signing. He's a nice wide receiver 4. It's just when you don't have a wide receiver 2 and you don't have a wide receiver 3, it's just something where you kind of just roll your eyes. But again, it's another durable player. And then the Titans signed an offensive lineman on Wednesday, Blake Hance, 6'5", 310, 315 pounds, just turned 29 years old. He has been a backup his entire career. He started out with Bill Callahan in Cleveland in 2021, 17 games, played 644 snaps, started 8 games with Bill Callahan in Cleveland as a right tackle. Then he went to San Francisco for a year, played a little bit of tackle, played a little bit of guard, played in 16 games. Then he goes to Jacksonville. For the last 2 years, he's been in Jacksonville. Played 17 games in 2023, only made 1 start. Played 9 games last year, only made 1 start. He is a swing tackle, versatile guy on the interior or on the offensive line in general. A guy with familiarity with Bill Callahan, but this is not a starting level player. Like, this is not the Titans' new starting right guard or anything like that. At least it shouldn't be, folks. It should not be. Or boy, I would be very worried about that. But Van Jefferson, Blake Hance, if you look, 17 games, 16 games, 17 games, 9 games last year. Like, it's a guy who just plays. He's durable. He's available. And at the end of the day, what the Titans are doing in free agency makes their plan clear for what they're looking to do in 2025. First, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, even who's cutting down the nets. I love going chalk in the tournament with my bets. Seems like it's fun to talk about Cinderella stories and upsets, but the favorites tend to win, and I can back them with spreads, totals, and game props. I can stay in the action all tournament long, and FanDuel is super easy to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly, no waiting around. So make sure that you visit FanDuel.com to get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. It's FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Talked about the quarterback situation and the rumor that the Titans are interested in Carson Wentz, what that means, who he would be throwing to. Cooper Kupp is free, but I doubt they go that direction. Some other signings worth noting. Van Jefferson was 1 year, $2 million, and Blake Hance was 1 year, $1 million. So, I mean, those are nothing signings at the end of the day. But I want to talk about what all these signings mean so far for the Titans. It has truly been a boring free agency. The Titans make the splash with Dan Moore, but after that, they bring in Cody Barton and they bring in Johnny Hecker, a punter, and now they bring in Van Jefferson and they bring in Blake Hance. It's like, it's all right in front of us. And again, I felt at the beginning of the week before free agency was about to start that the Titans were going to go get Cam Ward. But after seeing what they've done here in free agency and what they haven't done in free agency, to me, it seems pretty clear that the Titans are willing to punt this season. They don't care about getting high-end players. They don't care about getting players that have anything to do with the future. That's what it really comes down to. Tanking means that the Titans are intentionally trying to lose. And I don't think that they're intentionally trying to make the team bad, but they're intentionally trying not to add any long-term answers. They are just punting on finding anybody who can play safety for a couple of years, play linebacker for a couple of years, play guard for a couple of years, play wide receiver the Titans aren't looking to add any pieces to the team that they plan to keep around long-term. Everybody that they brought in besides Dan Moore, which makes me sad because it's the one signing I actually dislike. Other than Dan Moore, everyone is just a spot filler. Just plug a hole. Hey, we know we're not winning the Super Bowl this year. We know that we're not even competing for the playoffs. We need a starting safety. We don't want to pay into the future for a starting safety. We're signing a 1-year deal with Xavier Woods. 2 years, $10 million. It's going to be a 1-year deal. The Titans are just saying, we know we're not going to have a competitive year. We're not giving out any money at all into the future. Who we are in 2026 will be infinitely different from who we are in 2025. They are literally just kicking the can down the road. Yeah, we need a long-term starting safety. We can't find it, and we're not paying for it this year. Xavier Woods, fill the spot. Yeah, we need a long-term starting inside linebacker. We can't find it. We're not paying for it. Cody Barton, 1-year deal. We know that we can't fix wide receiver this year. We're not going to pay for it. Van Jefferson, 1 year, $2 million. Go out there and be our wide receiver too. You're cheaper than we're not even paying for NWI. Apparently, according to reporting from Paul Kaharski, the Titans had an offer. Or no, I think it was Terry McCormick. The Titans had an offer. It might have been John Glennon. I'm sorry, I forget. It's been a long day for me. The Titans had an offer on the table similar to what NWI got from the Dolphins, and he picked the Dolphins anyway. Interesting. But yeah, at the end of the day, again, what my overall point here is that look at what the Titans are doing in free agency. And it is pretty clear that the Titans are just kicking the can down the road. Now, we have a trade here. The Tennessee Titans are trading Kenneth Murray to the Cowboys. Thank you, Jesus. This is incredible. Now, it looks to be a late round pick is what we're hearing. Maybe even a late round swap is what we're hearing. Okay. Basically, this frees up $7 million of cap space for the Titans in salary that was owed to Kenneth Murray. There will be $2.5 million in dead cap. That's perfectly fine. Not worried about that. I wanted Kenneth Murray cut all along. The Titans signed Cody Barton to be their number one linebacker. I think he's a better player than Kenneth Murray, and he was cheaper than Kenneth Murray. So I love that. Looking for official trade compensation here. The teams are swapping late round picks. So it's probably, like the Titans get the Cowboys' 5th round pick and the Cowboys get the Titans' 6th round pick. But either way, the Titans are going to improve their draft pick status even on day 3 by getting rid of Kenneth Murray. He was someone I wanted cut from the team. So the fact that Kenneth Murray wasn't cut and got the Titans an improvement in their draft picks, that is incredible news. Like, that is miraculous news for the Titans. So don't have the official pick swap, but they're swapping late round picks, probably 6th for a 7th. It could even be, well, the Titans have a higher pick than the Cowboys, so it can't be that. It's going to be a 5th for a 6th, a 6th for a 7th, or one of the Titans' late picks, because they have 2 4th rounders and 2 6th rounders. It could be their later 4th or 6th rounder for an earlier 6th rounder from the Cowboys, which is probably what it is since it's a late round swap. It'll probably be something like that. So either way, no matter what it is, the Titans are getting better draft picks for getting rid of a player that I thought they should cut anyway, while saving $7 million of cap space. Better picks, more cap space, rid of a bad player. Excellent. Excellent, excellent, excellent work by Mike Borgonzi. Boom! Even more Tennessee Titans news, of course, right at the end of the show, but better late than never. The Tennessee Titans have signed their starting right guard, Kevin Zeitler. We've talked about Kevin Zeitler for quite some time. He's 35 years old. It's a 1-year, $9 million deal. This just continues the conversation we're having right now. The Tennessee Titans are looking for spot fillers. They don't want to commit any future resources to anybody. They're just looking to get 1-year contracts with veterans to plug a spot so that they can reassess after the year. And I mean, it's hard to fight them on that philosophy at the end of the day, right? Like last year, the Titans were super, super aggressive and they lost a bunch of games. This year, they're being super conservative. They're not giving out any big contracts other than Dan Moore. And they're just like, hey, fill this spot for right now. And we're going to, through the draft this year and through the offseason next year, build the roster the way that we want. This is just, hey, we don't have any good long-term options. It's time to fill a spot with a cheap guy. And you go get a 35-year-old dude on a 1-year contract who can just give you league average starting guard play. That simple. So with the Kenneth Murray trade, signing Kevin Zeitler, all the moves they made so far with Van Jefferson and Blake Hance and Cody Barton, like it just tells you everything you need to know. The Tennessee Titans are just doing the bare minimum they can this year to fill spots and then move forward. That's what the goal is. So there we go. More breaking news on tomorrow's show. Assuming that there isn't even more breaking news after this, I'm going to kind of do a recap of the first week of free agency, everything we've seen from the Titans. I'm going to grade each move that they've made so far as well. So very excited for that. But that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.